Good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Coleridge. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Coleridge. Let's take a trip back in time. We're going to go back to the time of the Native American. We're going to go back to the time of the Lenni Lenape. Okay, and what we're going to show off here are some of my artifacts. Some of them are new. Some of them I've had for a while. But all of them are friggin' awesome. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so this one right here is what started it all at Nish. This right here is what confirmed that Nish Mekaklo was, which is Indian village that was between Northumberland and Danville. This stone right here is what proved to me that I was on the right trail. So this is the very first pictograph stone I ever very first pictograph stone I ever found. And the first thing that sticks out, I'm sure, to you is the white. The white there, right? Right there. Now, I don't know about you, but the second I saw that, the very second I saw that, the first thing that came to my mind was a crane. You know, like a bird, a heron. That's what they look like when they're taking off. And actually, if you see, it's kind of hard to see. But you can see his wings taking off there. See, there's a wing, and there's a wing. Like, there's a tip of a wing, and there's a tip of a wing. See, it's taking off. Now, on his right here, okay, you can see some sort of design or some sort of shape there. All right. Now, I mean, as soon as I seen it, the first thing that came to my mind was that it's a woman holding a basket, and not just any basket, but to me, it looks like it's a clay basket. All right, 'cause it's not very big. All right. So then to the left of the heron, again, these are really hard to make out. If you look here, you can see a hunter. All right, let's see. Set that down. You can see. Oh, Jesus. Whoops. Sorry. Oh, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. You can see a hunter standing with his arms in the air. Okay, there's his head. His arms are in the air, and he's crossing two spears. Okay? That is a sign of friendship when the two spears are crossed like that. So on the right side, we have a gatherer. On the left side, we have a hunter. And right here, we have what turns out to be, it's called a white egret. Okay? They're an endangered species in Pennsylvania. But, you know, if it's just a bunch of collection, if it was just a collection of a bunch of random pictures, I could see people writing it off as coincidence. But, first off, that is paint. Okay? That is 100% paint. It's not stratification. It's paint. Okay? If you actually zoom in here. Let's do this. Zoom in here. And then it's, if you look just, you can see it's also carved in there just a little bit. So it's petroglyph with paint in the middle. Same thing with her. You can see she's carved out a little bit. And him, he's a little bit harder to see. So anyway, if it was just a bunch of random pictographs, petroglyphs here, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But you can see too that it's sanded off in the shape of a turtle shell. Okay. So, as it turns out, this is actually telling us, it's relaying to us some wisdom. You know, when you see the white egret, you'll have good fortune in your hunt and your harvest. So yeah, and again, these pictures, they don't do them justice. You have to actually be here and see them. And again, you know, you see the flat bottom. This must have sat like something like that. That's how it would have sat, something like that. All right, next. Well, I guess we'll stick to pictographs and effigies and such. We have this. Now, this was found at Nish as well. All right. And you can see it's obviously been worked by hand. You can see the angles. See that sharp angle there? Let's see here. Look at it from the front. See the sharp angle? Perfectly smooth edges. Smooth. All right. See, this is all flattened out, and then underneath here, that's carved out separate. And you can see it's cut at an angle, smoothed out, and that's smooth as well. On the bottom, it's smooth. So what do we got here? So, I believe, it's obviously a bird, but I'm fairly confident that this is a bald eagle effigy. See the white there for the head, like for the top of his head, and then there's some dark colors there. It's definitely a bird of some sort, because there's the bill, you know. Yeah. Neat little find. All right, next. There's a little amulet. You can see there's the sides here have been worn down. It's been worn down. And there's actually a spot there for like your thumb. All right. Look, this looks like it's limestone of some sort. And then look, on the face there is a tiny footprint. Now, I'm not sure what kind of footprint it is. I don't know if that's a person. It does have 5 toes, but I'm not sure if it's a person. It could be a turtle. It could be, you know, who knows what it is. It's either a person or a turtle. Similar depictions are on Little Indian Rock. And in my opinion, the ones on Little Indian Rock that looks like this, they're turtle prints. But hey, make your own judgment. Pretty neat, though. All right, so my very first time at Fishing Creek, looking for artifacts near Rupert's Bridge in Bloomsburg. I was looking around, and when I saw this next item, I initially thought it was a piece of limestone, because it kind of had this like look to it, right, like that. So I seen it there, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Then I thought it was bone, so I went down and picked it up, and I'm like, oh, it's not an animal bone. I started looking around, and I realized this is a tooth, a very old tooth. Yeah, so this is a tooth, and if you look, you can see. Now, how do I know it's a tooth? Well, give me a second here. I'm going to show you. First off, what tooth is it? This is a lower middle molar, okay? And it's a very old one. Very old. All right. And now if you look, now when you think of, Native Americans, you usually don't think of tooth extractions, but As it turns out, abscess teeth were a leading cause of death amongst the Native Americans because of one simple fact. When they were making their food, like the when they were grinding up their food items, like corn and such, they obviously had to use stone to grind. Yeah, so they would use the stone to grind that stuff up. And even though a byproduct of that was that, small amounts of stone would make it into the finished food product, like, basically dust to small little pebbles. And the dust itself acted like sandpaper and slowly wore the enamel down on the teeth over time. And then eventually holes started to develop, and abscesses would develop. And if they were not treated immediately, today we treat it with antibiotics and such, but if it wasn't treated some way immediately, it would lead to death. What would end up happening is the abscess would keep growing until it made its way and ate through a blood vessel. Once it made its way into the bloodstream, you were dead. So you would think that, antibiotics, the Indians didn't have antibiotics, so that must have been pretty much a death sentence for them. Well, not after seeing this. Okay, so if you look real close here, see that right there? That's actually a pebble lodged inside the tooth cavity. See that there? And then you can also look around and see the rot. Tooth rot, tooth rot, tooth rot. So if it wasn't treated with medicine immediately, or the tooth or if the tooth wasn't removed, then you would die. Well, apparently the Native Americans were a lot more ingenuitive than we give them credit. See that angle there? All right, there's the tooth that would have sat down. If you look in here close, see all the little pits? See the little holes there? The little pits? So that's how they got the tooth out. They would use like a stone drill, all right, and chisel, and they would, a little at a time, chisel the tooth out. If you look, this whole section here is done like that. See up there too? How awesome is that? I think that's so friggin' amazing, because I never would have guessed that that they were capable of that. See, there's more tooth rot there. Or there's that pebble again that's stuck inside the tooth. Now you could tell this tooth, these guys' other teeth mustn't have, or person's teeth mustn't have been good, because that pitting, see that heavy pitting there? That's a result of the enamel being worn away. So yeah, that is an ancient tooth that's been removed by an ancient dentist. All right, next. Well, now we're sticking with Fisher Creek. This is probably the coolest item I still have. Walking along the creek one day looking, and boom, this fella comes out. Now, what is this? This is the oldest artifact I have, by far. See, and you can see, unfortunately, I dropped it and it broke, so I had to fix it with super glue. But what this is called a fluted Clovis tip. Fluted Clovis. Now, this is a spear tip, all right? It's called fluted because if you look here on the bottom, there's like a See that indentation there? Oh, sorry, furnace just kicked on. That indentation there? Okay, so this spear tip would have been attached to like a long pole, maybe like a 10-foot pole. All right, and a small hunting party, maybe a half a dozen guys or so, would go out hunting megafauna. For example, woolly mammoths. And when they'd find one, they'd surround it, and they'd each take turns driving their clovis tips into the sides to kill it. And eventually, when it get worn down, another guy could, jump on top and start stabbing it from up there. Now, the reason this is out, in its prime, this would have been a sharp tip, and these would have been, crisp edges. But I found this laying in the actual fishing creek. It's made of red jasper, which is not native to the area either. But yeah, so it's been sitting in the fishing creek for how long? But this right here is, like I said, the oldest artifact I have. The Clovis period was from between 12,000 and 10,000 years ago. How cool is it that this was used to kill, to bring down a mammoth, a woolly mammoth, or, what other kind of megafauna they could have brought down? It just sucks it broke. Yeah, that's the oldest one I have. I love it. Alright, so in my last video, I showed off my newest axe head of the year. Now, I just have this out because I'd like to make an example. Okay. So this is a normal tomahawk, okay, for a normal person. That is a much bigger tomahawk, okay? So let's see here. I found this one at the confluence of Roaring Creek and the Susquehanna River at where there was an Indian village called Glassamanog. And this was about, last summer we had a really bad drought. And this was about 15 feet offshore. There was this one and two other ones. And, people say, well, it's just a rock, just a rock. Well, let's go over the reasons why it's not a rock. First off, look how big it is. We'll come back to that in a minute. Well, let's come back to the reason why it's not just a rock. This is obviously a wood axe. The way you can tell that, simple. It has a beveled edge in the front, okay? The edge bevels down. All right? And that's the beveled edge. See, it flattens. See, it's perfectly flat there. It'll bevel out down there. All right, check this out. Here we go. That's pretty flat to me. There's a spot right there. The leather straps that they would put on, this would sit in, and then the leather straps that would fasten it to the pole. That right there is one of the grooves where the leather bindings would went through. All right. So then here you have, the back is a little different. The back's not too, but again, okay. With the angle, okay. See the pit, this is a groove, that's, all right, so there's a groove. All right. Beveled edge for cutting wood. And again, let's see that in comparison. So here's the smaller one I have. And then here's in my opinion, this right here proves that there were giants that existed, that some of the Lenape were giants. And in my opinion, Captain John Smith, from his other, just from the life he lived and from the other work he's done, he wasn't known to exaggerate. So yeah, that's a giant's tool. All right. And then lastly here, now this one here is kind of, I've been trying to figure out what it is. All right. I found this at Niche back in October. All right. And you can see here it has, let's do it. It's kind of like a rounded out bottom. All right. But it's obviously worked by hand. You know, you can see smooth edges here. All right. You can see smooth edges there. See the way it like, and there's like, now there is a chunk missing there. All right. And so yeah, I'm looking at this thing and I'm trying to figure out what it is, you know, because could it be, you know, like an eel? Could it be, you know, some kind of fish? Or, and I'll tell you, I think I come up with the answer. So, while I was doing some research the other day about Niche, I was looking at Google Earth, and it suddenly struck me that this freaking thing here kind of looks a lot like Montour Ridge. Like the whole mountain. Like, here's the Norrie side, here's the Danville side, and here's... Now, I'm not saying 100% that's what this is, but it's the closest thing that I've been able to... It's definitely something. I mean, you can see the flat edges here, the worked. You can see that that's all worked. And then this here, now some people would say, oh, that's a plow mark. That's not a plow mark. That's indicative of some sort of path or something. That's what I think it is, folks. I think it's Montour Ridge. Let's see, we'll look at it from this angle here. We're going to look at it from a bunch of different angles here. That angle. Let's look at it from this angle here. Now I should be looking. All right. Again, I'll probably never be 100% sure what this is. But, I mean, you can see there's painting on it. That red right there, that's painting. You know, and it's a shame because it doesn't make any, it doesn't make sense any other way. I don't know. The only way it really makes sense for it to sit like that. So that's what I think that is. I think that might be a representation of Montour Ridge. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Oh, and keep your smart comments to yourself. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.